everyone, and welcome back to the She Shoots podcast, Women Empowering Women in the Shooting Community, Season 5, Episode 49, Antlers and Allies, Women Hunt Across Borders. I am Regina Ruiz Ordonez, and I'm happy to be back. I missed you guys last month, but I'm also here with Deneen Tomlin, Casey Gavinchuk, and Kelly Melanson. Just some quick reminders before we get into the introductions of our amazing guests for today. Just a reminder that we have a new YouTube channels, the She Shoots podcast, right? Facebook page and Instagram page, and all of it is under the She Shoots umbrella, so you can find us a lot easier than before. And then what else? We have exciting episodes coming up, like the one that you're going to see today. So make sure if there's any guests you want to see or any particular topics you want to cover, that you send us a message. You can put it in the chat. You can also send us an email at sheshootspodcast@gmail.com. We'll put it up on the screen towards the end of it when I go through some of the reminders again later. But that's probably enough for me today. Oh, if you want to interact with our guests from today, make sure to comment on the chat box below, and we can ask any of those questions to our guests towards the end of the interview as well. But that's it for me, and I'll hand it over to Kelly and Deneen to introduce our guests for today.
Thank you, Regina, and welcome, ladies, to She Shoots. We're so excited to have you tonight. An amazing topic that I can't wait to dive into. So I get the pleasure of reading some bios. So once we get those done, we're going to jump into questions. So I'm going to start with Renée. Renée Thornton is the founder of the chair of the Wild Sheep Foundation's Women Hunt Program and Committee and the Women in Hunting Initiative. Originally from rural Alberta, Canada, she built a 30-year career in federal government and politics, serving in senior leadership and executive roles before retiring and relocating to Montana. Renée became a hunter in 2016 after a decade-long pursuit of ethically sourced, locally raised food, and her experience as a solo adult onset female hunter fuels her passion for helping more women enter hunting and conservation. A dedicated advocate for wildlife and wild places, she volunteers, speaks publicly, and works with state, provincial, and national legislators to advance the rights and heritage of hunters. Renée is a Summit Life member of the Wild Sheep Foundation and holds numerous conservation life memberships, including the prestigious Marco Polo Society supporting the future of wild sheep conservation. An avid outdoors woman and world traveler who has visited all 7 continents, she enjoys hunting, fly fishing, hiking, and camping, and in 2025, captained the first all-female championship team in the history of the Lander one-shot antelope hunt. Welcome to the show, Renée. We're going to move over to Cathy Wolf now. Cathy, welcome back. We've had you on the show before, and we get to talk to you again tonight about something that sounds very near and dear to your heart. So Cathy is an avid outdoorswoman with a deep passion for mentorship and building community in the wild. From navigating the rugged terrain of a mentor elk hunt with Women Hunt to chasing Lakers in the water, she has seen firsthand how the outdoors transforms lives and builds lasting sisterhoods. She is a firm believer in the power of learning by doing, whether it's mastering firearm management, perfecting shot placement, or field dressing in the field. Her mission is to help other women find their confidence, embrace the grit of the hunt, and claim their space in the hunting world. Welcome back, Cathy. All right. And lastly, but not least, we're going to learn all about you, Brandi. Brandi Love, the secretary. It says Secretary of Alberta, but I'm guessing that this note is missing something to do with the association. So Brandi Love grew up near Manitoba's Delta Marsh, one of Canada's premier waterfowl areas, on her family's mixed cattle and grain farm. Raised in a hunting family, she developed an early interest in conservation, but ultimately pursued a career in agriculture. She earned a Bachelor of Applied Science in Agribusiness Management and diploma in Ag Business Marketing and Sales from Olds College, leading to a permanent move to Alberta. Brandi's currently manager of agriculture credit for TD Bank in Central Alberta, where she assists producers in agribusiness with financing needs. Active in rodeo and barrel racing, she has served on numerous association boards and continues to train and compete with her horses. So let's talk a little bit about Brandi's love for hunting. It deepened in 2021 following personal family events, and selected for the inaugural Women Hunt New Hunter program, she reconnected with hunting alongside her father. Since then, Brandi has been actively involved with the Wild Sheep Foundation and WSF Alberta, serving now as a director. She's committed to mentoring new hunters and advancing Women Hunt's mission to grow conservation and participation in the outdoors. Welcome, Brandi, to the show. All right, Kelly, I've used all my words now. So it's time for you to start asking some questions of these beautiful women tonight.
Yeah, so amazing that you're willing and able to come onto our shows, particularly on such short notice, but in celebration of International Women's Day. I think that it really speaks to the caliber of guests that we have this week. Everything that has been in those bios is really, truly amazing. We do want to get into the show, so we want to get started, but we want to also why don't we go around a little bit? So Renée, why don't you tell us a bit of how you became involved in specifically the hunting aspect of things? We've learned about it. Yeah.
Oh. Sorry. Go ahead, Kelly.
Yeah. I still hear a lot of feedback. Are you able to? Do you hear me?
I hear you perfectly. I'm not getting any feedback.
I'm hearing feedback. Audio on.
How about I mute and try to figure it out?
Okay. Perfect. So why don't we go on to Cathy? Cathy, you've been on the show before as well. Why don't you let everybody know how you got involved in hunting, and then we'll just go around the room. So tell us a little bit about how you became involved in particularly big game hunting.
Well, I honestly did not grow up in a hunting family like we've discussed previously. I grew up on an agriculture farm, raising cattle, riding your horse, checking the fence, that kind of deal. And then I met my husband, and it was literally, well, if you want to hang out with me, you're going to learn what I do, or you're going to be alone a lot. So I started learning from him and his friends, and I took it on and I said, okay, let's do it. And challenge accepted. And now that's our life. It's our passion. We've grown our passion into a business side of it. So we own and operate Wolf Hunting Adventures as a family operated. All of our kids are involved in it. And I spun that off into my group that I've met through the Wild Sheep Foundation, Brandi and Renée, but I started Untamed Women on the side because I wanted to share it with women and introduce women and youth to the outdoor activities. So if you had a question, or if you wanted to learn anything, whether it be backing up a trailer to how to tie a hook on, to how to shoulder a gun, let's figure it out. Let's do it. So I really took that passion and ran with it, and got to meet up with some pretty amazing women along the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I'm just going to say this. I've been grateful for your involvement in the community, but also to have met you too. Brandi, what about you? How did you become involved? You have a lot of involvement in the hunting and the shooting. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I actually grew up in a hunting family. We are very blessed to have resided in a huge flyway and a very world-renowned waterfowl area. And I grew up with whitetail in the cattle yard, and just around that. I have both my grandparents hunted. It's in our blood, but it was just not. I have sat my fair share in a blind as a kid and went out, but it was not something that I just got super passionate about at a young age. While I was passionate about wildlife, I wasn't necessarily passionate about or had much of an interest in actually hunting itself. When I moved, but it's a very interesting story. When I moved to Alberta, I always seemed to continue to bump up to it, and it just kept nudging me a little bit in each direction on a personal front. And I vividly remember to this day the first time traveling to Banff after moving out here and seeing bighorn sheep for the very first time. I joke, in real life kind of thing. So it instilled quite a bit of a passion, and I have huge respect for those animals and a deep love for them. When as we all face as our parents age, we had a very personal event. My father had a stroke in 2020, and the reality of your humanity sets in, and the fact that life is short. And so my parents had retired, and they had traveled to New Zealand to do a stag hunt, and were enjoying retirement. And I just wanted to make up for some lost time. So I wanted to go hunting with my dad, not have my dad take me hunting. And that was kind of the key distinction for me. So when the Women Hunt program rolled out and the inaugural new hunter field, which is now the field to fork class, was launched, I applied, and I was one of the first of 12 women to go through the program and go to Texas. And that's a very interesting story in itself, and I could talk for hours about that, because I traveled during COVID to Texas to partake in that, which brought on some interesting challenges that we all remember about airfare and travel in 2021 that we all like to forget. And then since then, I've kind of come crashing in like the Kool-Aid man is my expression. I rolled up my sleeves, and Renee can quote me. I said, "Put me to work." I think I used a different saying, but that's probably the better saying. Rented mule and put me in, coach, kind of thing. So I started actively in 2022. We were able to kind of gather again. Wild Sheep Foundation Alberta was able to start hosting their banquet. So I attended the very first banquet that year, sold raffle after raffle, and just put my hand up and did what I can do. And it's ultimately snowballed from there. And apparently I don't know how to say no is another problem too. So that's the long and short of that. Since then, I've got to fulfill that goal. I've not only hunted North America with my dad, but we've now done 2 international hunts as well, and we are going on our 3rd this fall. So
It's really amazing.
That's an amazing story.
Yeah. I like how, it's the analogy you use, the Kool-Aid man, but I think every single one of these women that are on the podcast tonight embodies that. We're like, when we first got into it, we were all in. And I think that's what's so great about women in the shooting sports, and particularly in hunting and conservation. Why don't we
Kelly,
Oh,
do you still hear feedback?
Kelly, why don't you try turning yours off? And we'll see what happens.
Didn't you want it? You take over while I do this.
Sounds good. All right. Well, we're going to bounce over to Renee now. You're going to introduce yourself for us and tell us a little bit about yourself and the program tonight.
Thanks a lot. Listening to Cathy and Brandi talk about their journeys, that Kool-Aid man analogy was the best, Brandi. But for myself, I didn't come from a background with any hunting. I didn't know anybody who hunted. I found out after the fact that I knew people who hunted, but truthfully, they never talked about it. It was never mentioned. I never saw taxidermy or was served wild game. So, for my life experience, I didn't grow up around anybody who hunted. So I didn't have those connections. But I did grow up in a rural community and had a decent understanding of farming practices. But I moved away from that right out of school and into the city and started my career. And at some point in my 30s, I started thinking about mass farming practices and just trying to, source my meat more ethically, as I mentioned in my bio, and started doing that. And all along, I kept thinking about learning how to hunt, and wouldn't that just be the best way to get my own meat, clean, ethical meat in an animal that's living freely until the moment of its death. But I didn't know anybody, so overwhelmed me, and I know I actually kind of sometimes sort of felt scared about the idea. A lot of that was around shooting. I'd never been around firearms, so I had some sort of fear of firearms for whatever reason. But fast forward, I'm in my mid 40s, living and working in downtown Calgary. And it's a recurring thought I'm having over and over again. And I finally one night just said, what is the problem, Renée? Like, I'm a executive. I know how to make difficult decisions and find solutions and think critically. And I thought, all you have to do is just take the first step. So that's what I did. I woke up the next day and I figured out how to become a legally licensed firearm in Canada, firearm owner. And, did my PAL, my RPAL, my hunter education training. And to the points that Cathy and Brandi have made, really highlighting that, the position of service and giving back, that was the approach I chose to use. I joined a whole bunch of local, gun and rod clubs, and including the Alberta chapter of the Wild Sheep Foundation, made, efforts to make some friends and connections that way to get a leg up and find somebody who might mentor me. And so that's how I got started. And I didn't ask for a thing for over a year. I just kept showing up and volunteering and making connections and talking to people. And then it was like a tipping point at the 1 year mark. And it was like these members of this community who were all great. But I think that was just like, oh, so we weren't sure how to figure you out as a solo middle-aged woman showing up out of nowhere. But it's all good now, and let's go. So, I was raised in a family where service was ingrained in us, and my career was in public service. And so it was not hard for me to move quickly with my professional background and skill set and just my built-in desire to give back into a program. And that is a long story for that I could monopolize this entire discussion about, but I won't. I'll just jump to just going about doing my own thing. Fly fishing and getting into Montana from Calgary to fly fish on the Kootenay up in Libby was easy. So I would do that a lot. I had a great outfitter up there. And going to my first sheep show in Reno, didn't know a soul, making a ton of new friends. And just kind of getting out there led to me meeting a past chairman of the board of the foundation. And that's where the long story is that I'll skip. But the end result is that the foundation formally approached me to build a program. And that was the genesis of Women Hunt. And it has grown in leaps and bounds, attracted high quality women from all over the world, whether they're coming through the course that Brandi did or our newer offerings, or exceptional women like Cathy who jumped on without hesitation to help mentor this elk hunt that we'll talk about later. It's just been an amazing ride these last 6 years. And the momentum is outpacing our capacity.
That's super exciting. I love the fact that your stories are so similar, yet you all have your own path. I love the stories of women becoming adult onset hunters. That's a passion for so many women that we've interviewed. And so I think tonight our guests are also really interested in learning, especially with International Women's Day, how do we transition this conversation tonight a little bit to that elk hunt that you hosted that was really crossing international borders between Montana and Alberta. So who can share with us how that started and a little bit about it?
How about I give it a start, but Brandi and Cathy, by all means, jump in. So, again, as I mentioned, the program's been building momentum and we've been growing like crazy. And I have a point to what I'm about to say. We started with new hunter rifle and hunter training. But after a couple of years of really excellent delivery of that, some of our members of our community said, I love what you're doing. I love this program, but I'm not a newer hunter. I'm an experienced hunter. I'm an outfitter. I'm a guide. I'm a whatever. Can you build us something for us? And so that's led us to introduce lots of different programming and activities. And then on the subject of the elk hunt, Brandi, while she serves on the Women Hunt Committee as our secretary in her volunteer role, she also didn't mention when, she went to her first Alberta banquet in 2022, and then before you knew it, she was running for their board. So she serves on the board of directors of the Alberta chapter of Wild Sheep. And in Montana, there's a chapter as well, the Montana Wild Sheep Foundation. And there's a great female board member named Erica Putnam on their board as well. And I talked to lots of different chapters and affiliates over the course of the year. And I was talking with Erica, and she's been building activities for women through the Montana chapter. Talking to Brandi, she was like, I wanted to start doing stuff in Alberta with the Alberta chapter. I've met Cathy in the past. She's like, let's do something. And so I brought Brandi and Erica together so that they could, share some ideas, learn from each other, support each other. We share a border. Culturally, Alberta and Montana is very similar in many, many respects. There's a lot of symmetry and a good relationship between the two, the state and the province. It's a, for me, it was as simple as seeing an opportunity. I started having these joint calls with Brandi and Erica. We Women Hunt and the Wild Sheep Foundation, the national organization, have an excellent relationship with many different governments from lots of different states, provinces, territories, and nations. And as a result of the desire and motivation of Brandi and Erica and my relationships with the hunting and fishing branch in Alberta specifically for this opportunity, I had this idea and I made some phone calls and started having conversations. So that, from my perspective, is how it started. But Brandi, Cathy, anything you want to add?
I think that's about how it really went. Brandi and I were on a call and talking about what's next kind of thing and what's going down and how can we bring Women Hunt into the Wild Sheep Banquet, which is a whole nother ball game, we'll call it, here when we do our Bighorn banquet here in Alberta. And Brandi's like, how many days of vacation do you have? Because we want to do this elk hunt and we're looking for a mentor. And I'm like, I'll call in sick. I'm making it happen. So it was really something, it embodies everything, right? It brings huntresses wanting to get out there into it. A couple of the ladies that did come over, I am in awe of them. When I book a hunt and I go on a hunt, I'm one of those people, I make a little Bible that goes with me everywhere that has like where I'm going, what I'm doing, where I'm staying, what I'm hunting, all of it, right? And like your firearm licenses, all this kind of stuff. And these women came blind and was like, they've got a gun for me. They know where I'm hunting. I don't know what I need. And I'm like, the blind trust you guys put in us is
wow. So you've talked, Renée talked about how the nexus of the idea came together, and we obviously know the two Kool-Aid gals got at it and started moving into getting it done. But now my question is, how did you get the hunters to be part of this? And then how did you decide where to hunt?
Well, the where to hunt was really from the hunting and fishing branch. So, I made some phone calls there and said, do you think there's an opportunity for a transnational hunt to provide, some mentored hunts to women who might not otherwise have that opportunity, and also to foster that relationship between our two countries and the state of Montana and the province of Alberta. And, I don't want to speak for the hunting and fishing branch, but I do know, like from my discussions with them, that an antlerless elk hunt and a mentored one was something that they were able and willing and excited to support. And they do it for other organizations like AHIA, which is based in Alberta, and others. There's a Wounded Warrior program in Alberta, and I apologize for not knowing the precise name of it, but they also benefit from this generosity from the from the hunting branch. And so, you know, I know that they talked to me about why the antlerless elk was appropriate. They talked to me about the changes in elk populations in southern Alberta, depredation events, the landowners that were interested and available in providing hunting opportunities to deal with those population issues. So, you know, I mean, I can get into a lot more detail, but I think on the surface, essentially, it was an assessment by the branch as to what could be supported in a sustainable way, and an ethical way, and in a legal way, and this was what worked.
Thank you. That's an excellent explanation, and thanks for shout outs to those other groups that are putting those elk hunts together too.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about the process? When did you start the process for selecting the candidates for it? How long did it take? How many applications also did you get? Because I think Deneen wants to have a conversation with you guys after the program.
Just a little conversation on the side about why my name wasn't picked, but that's okay.
Yeah. What was the process for that?
Brandi, you want to take that one?
Oh, did she freeze up?
Oh, she's back.
Yeah,
there she is.
Hi, Brandi.
Hi.
Had a good nap.
Yeah, just a quick blip, of course. Sure, I can elaborate on what I caught for most of that question. So after we got the official go ahead, Renee, Eric, and I sat down and kind of hashed out how we were going to do this and how we were going to launch this. And there's no fair way except a random way. So we exclusively launched this through our partnership with Wild Sheep Foundation Alberta and Montana Wild Sheep. We collaborated with them, and they graciously shared the application on social media, and we did a 24-hour application period, start to finish. If your algorithm saw it, your algorithm saw it. The only real qualifications at the initial application were that you were a legal hunter and had your firearms and hunter safety. So ultimately, the Google form went up for 24 hours and came down promptly 24 hours later. I believe analytically wise, it was probably one of the highest hit posts and highest shared posts that we've, as Women Hunt, Wild Sheep Foundation Alberta, I can say to that because I know those analytics, but it went viral, to say the least. And ultimately, after it closed, we still had multiple messages, and I had personal text messages like, "Hey, I missed this," and unfortunately, answer was, "So sorry that it is closed." As well. The other requirement was obviously female and residents of Alberta and Montana. So those were the initial criteria for the vision of this transnational component. After we closed, we were just over 300 applications in 24 hours, which just, hearing the number of people that were, knocking on the door after it was closed, we probably very easily could have hit more than 400, 500, 600 had more opportunity been there. But that's the great power of social media, and I think what we decided was the fairest way to launch this. We randomly selected. After that, Google random number generator to the rescue, and we selected 4 applicants from Alberta and 2 applicants from Montana, and 1 or 2 alternates just in case, in which we did have to call upon them as there was some conflicts and things like that, and said, no different than Cathy, take your holidays, kids, we're going elk hunting. So
overall, Yeah, sorry, Deneen, I just stepped on your toes there.
No, I love the story, and I wanted to thank you.
Yeah.
And now I know how the Google generator did it, so now I'm not going to file any formal complaints.
Yeah.
Right.
Her formal complaint is now with Google.
Yeah, exactly, right? It's official. It's official. So, so Kelly, I think we kind of want to know a little bit about the hunt itself and about the
Yeah.
ladies. What do you think?
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that. Who wants to talk about?
I'll briefly say something, but I'd love Cathy to answer this one. But I just want to say that the ranch that we were invited to hunt on has asked us not to publicize its name, and so we're just not going to use the name. But it was in southern Alberta, and they were fantastic, and it was an amazing property and a overabundance of elk. But I just wanted to mention that. But Cathy, I think you should take this.
Sure. So the logistics were fast and furious, just like this. Everything once everything started coming together, it all just came together like not everything. Brandi found us amazing accommodations. We all got into an Airbnb. So all of the mentors, Erica Putnam from Montana, and we ended up with 5 ladies that attended as participants. We were all under one roof. So we were all able to like meet the night before, say hi to everybody. We were actually able to go out and we did like a mini range day. We had 3 borrowed firearms. So your firearm is your hunt. And if you're not confident in it, you're not going to be confident when you're out there. And it's already a new and unknown territory for them going on a big game hunt and in southern Alberta without their, like anybody that had been introduced to hunting before, you always have a partner or mentor with you then, right? Mm-hmm. So going and being put into a whole new group where you don't know anybody, it's a feat. So we used that first day to introduce everybody, kind of get some juju flowing, and did some target shooting and a little mini range day, and we got some confidence built, which is definitely what we needed. We had some that needed a little bit of extra time. They had never shot off of a bipod before or a tripod. Never laid down prone to shoot. Everybody's been at a bench. That's what you have at the range when you go to the range. But there's not a lot of people that know how to shoot prone, which is the most stable way to shoot. Mm-hmm. But in my experience, it's also probably the least used shooting position. It is not a very popular shooting position, which is a whole
craziness.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling. You get comfy, you get to lay down, have a little nap. No, it's just, so we got all of that kind of good through there. And the weather when we had our range day was interesting. It was definitely a trial by fire. The wind was sideways. They were all freezing. We had warm-up spots in the truck. We were back and forth all the time. You had to pull out your good old puffy pants to stay warm. It was an interesting time, but I'm like, okay, this is real life. When you're hiking and we're hunting, we're in this weather and this is what we're dealing with. So we took it from there, and I'm getting long-winded, but you're just going to have to bear with me now. We went back to the house. We repacked. Everybody had their pack. We were going to be between the host side-by-sides and our feet. So we were going to try and figure out how we were doing it. We had a combination. We left the next morning, met up with our hosts, and got on the elk and did what we could. The first day, I won't get into everything everybody else can, but the first day we had some success. I was with a woman who had never shot a big game animal before. And we kind of split up into 2 groups so that we could have a couple mentors spread out, and everybody had the best chance with the most support as they needed. And the reality was, on the first day, with the wind going sideways and the inexperience, we had a shot. I called the shot off. I'm going to be brutally honest about it. I didn't feel comfortable with knowing the inexperience behind the gun and the distance that we were at. Because when we first set up, the elk were close. But like anybody that's ever been in the wild game doesn't stand there and wait for you. Elk are just that animal that's just going to keep mingling, right? And they kept pushing off, and when she got comfortable and she found her target again, it would move. And it was just one of those things where it started off with a really nice, easy yardage shot to one over 500, and I called it off. And
I'm super happy to hear you say that, Cathy. I'm really happy to hear you say that.
It's part of hunting, right?
It is.
Yeah.
And it showed ethics and it taught them. So I'm super proud of you. That's good.
Exactly. And that's what, and I'm like, we had a good discussion after it. And I'm like, this is why, even with the wind blowing, like the windage that you're going to have to accommodate for, that's not something a novice hunter is going to know or be able to be taught in a weekend. I've been behind the rifle for a few years, and I'm still learning about accommodating for windage and adapting and that kind of stuff. So we called it, we made it, and we had a discussion after, which it didn't deter them. I will give a shout out to our girls. They were there to learn, and they understood, and they just were like, okay, I had an opportunity. One was in front of me. Well, multiple were in front of me. It just didn't work out for me. So then we regrouped, and I don't know if Renee or Brandi, you two were on that first day with I'm the bad news story. Bad news, good news story. But I don't know who wants to start on the next one. Maybe Renee, you were the one with the first real kill shot.
Yeah, I think, we had, I should mention, just in case people are focused on numbers, Brandi had mentioned there was 4 women from Alberta and 2 from Montana, but we had 5 hunters. Unfortunately, one of our Alberta hunters had to drop off at the last minute, and we just did not have time to backfill her. So everything that Cathy's been talking about was universal for all of our hunters. I would say that 2 of our Alberta hunters were a little bit more experienced than the rest, and they saw success on day 1. But regardless of that, all 5 of them were surprised at the challenge of the terrain on this property. It was not like a stroll through a wheat field. It was, up and down coulees, for miles. And I can't remember one day what somebody clocked our mileage. Wasn't it over like 15 clicks, or I can't remember. It was outrageous, but these elk would not stand still. So, for those of us who are experienced, we know how to overcome that. But for newer hunters, those girls really buckled in and pushed hard. But yeah, we had success in our group on day 1, and those girls worked really hard. They did great stalks. They pushed hard, and there was some moments where I didn't have to call off a shot, but the way that Cathy did, but I, along with our hunter host, we made the decision that we felt she wasn't able to make the shot at the distance she believed she could. So we just explained that we would need to get closer. So, but it was nevertheless like a joyous moment. And Brandi, I don't know if you wanted to add anything on that with our group.
Yeah, I think it was just the elk finally gave us a good opportunity. We had pursued and bumped them all day, and with a very howling southern Alberta wind adding an element to that, it was nearing we were down to probably 2.5 hours of legal light, and we made a solid push to try and get around and get ahead. And we just honestly, I hate to say it, but luck and preparation just kind of happened to coincide us with that. And the herd the herd presented themselves, and both of our girls were able to set up and get a shot. And we were we were able to harvest 2 the very first day, so that was a really rewarding experience. The second day, we did let the herd settle a little longer. We split up again, but we were able to at that point go a little more one-on-one. If I remember right, we were still kind of 2-on-1 the first day, but we were able to get a little more one-on-one. And same thing, we Cathy can kind of jump into that, because she was the initial one on day 2.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to backtrack to day 1 just for a little bit. After the successful hunts, it was pretty awesome because we weren't far apart, but we were far apart kind of thing. So once we got the call from Renée that our first girl had her elk down, it was like, okay, send me a pin. Let's figure out where you're at. We're coming there, because of course the whole group wanted to celebrate that success, right? And if anybody's been on an elk hunt, you know how much work is in after you've killed your animal. Like after you've pulled that trigger, the work begins. Yes. So it was time to get elbow deep and armpit deep into the into the work that we had to do. So we made our way there, and watching both first day hunters that were successful in successfully learning to field dress their animal and get their hands dirty and get in there and not be afraid to learn and not be afraid to ask questions, right? Am I doing this right? Where am I doing? Where am I going to? Where's my knife going? How do I hold the knife when I'm doing this? Right? What knife is used? Do you use the big old butcher knife? Do you use a smaller blade? Like everything that you might take for granted as a seasoned hunter, you're backtracking and you're explaining down to the basics so that you're coming back to it. And I always love doing it that way, because there's things that I forget and I'm like, wait, we got to do it this way, right? And it's different techniques in that. So going back to that first day, I just wanted to give the shout out to those 2 girls that totally rocked learning their field dressing, getting in there. And then literally the entire group, we picked up those elk. We didn't quarter them. We picked up those elk and got them in the side by side and took them to the butcher to be processed. So it was a group effort.
And Cathy, if you don't mind, I'd just like to add for everybody listening that, Cathy's being extremely humble, but she really carried field dressing for the whole hunt for every hunter and the entire group. And not only did she carry it, Cathy's personality is such that she does it with the most joy and abandon you could ever imagine anybody having, field dressing 2 elks back to back, and teaching, new hunters how to do it themselves. But so much joy, and really, Cathy is just exceptional at empowering women through this particular part of the hunting experience, and doing it with really so much joy, and from elbows or armpit deep to, getting the ivories out to all of it. So kudos, Cathy, you nailed it.
Big love, Renée. Thank you.
I think you did a great job of picking a mentor. Your experience, Cathy, but also you're infectious with your will, enthusiasm. I was looking for the word.
My head's going to get pretty big for the screen here. So, but yeah, so then we'll go on to day 2. So the lady that I had pulled off from the first day, she was first up to shoot again. So it worked. So where we had split off and we were more centralized on a one-on-one with their mentors and our hunters, we were able to close this gap and stock in on this herd of cows. And one had separated from the rest of the herd and made the stalk completely doable. We were able to kind of dip and dive behind little hills and little knobs, and she felt the most comfortable on her knee, shooting off her knee, and it's a good thing because she didn't get a chance to lay prone. I pushed the prone on everyone, but the way the terrain was set, a knee shot off her knee was the best way to get her. So she was able to get up on there and get comfortable. And as soon as the game turned broadside, she was able to make her mark and feel comfortable and breathe through. I was able to get it on video for her. We were able to share everything on that. It was really awesome with it. And she literally went 20 yards and we were able to recover. So it was pretty awesome on that. And then for her, with it being her first big game, no one that had introduced her to that outdoor world before had ever shown her anything to do with field dressing. Mm-hmm. So she sat there and she kept apologizing to me. She's like, I'm sorry, I don't understand. And I'm like, you know what? I got all day. If we're here for 8 hours and you're just starting that zipper cut, that's what we're going to do. So literally we spent that time. One of our successful hunters from the day before was able to join us, and she was able to like kind of cheerlead her on and like, yeah, I had trouble with that too. Do you mind? So then just learning different ways, able to, once you got access from the end into, so that I could reach in from one end and show her, be like, can you reach my fingers? Okay, see this here? You can feel what I'm trying to explain to you now. This is where your knife is going to cut, mm-hmm. and going on so forth. So it was really one of those things of learn to do by doing and learn to do hands-on. And it was amazing on that. It took us a while, but you know what? The first time I field dressed anything, it took me all day and probably looked like a butcher did it.
Well, so excuse me, I'm listening and I'm imagining these women who have just met for the first time. They've come to meet these women who are, they know you guys are really good at what you do, and you're empowering them to be the best that they can be. I love this visual that you're giving us tonight. And what I really love about it is the breadth of experience that it appears that this group of women had. Because you had the very beginner who was willing to do something that a lot of people aren't willing to do. She pressed that trigger, she downed that animal, and then she got up to her elbows or her armpits into the hard work. And I mean, this is a beautiful story, and I love that it was empowered by women. And so can we just talk a little bit about the fact that these women came from both sides of the border? And was there anything unique about that, or what can you share with us about this cross-border women's elk hunt?
Who wants to take that one?
I mean, so Cathy kind of touched on it. Our two Montanans, due to the time frame, were not able to bring firearms that they were comfortable with, or maybe that they were proficient with. So there was definitely an element of learning on the fly and getting comfortable with those firearms. Also, none of these women knew each other. Like I honestly believe there was no previous connections to one another beforehand, whether it was even a social media friend follow like that. So we did have a organizational Zoom prior to, so everybody got to meet, in a video setting, but at least they weren't complete strangers to one another. They got to connect. The other logistical component of that was the crossing the border back with the elk. And so we did have to expedite one of the successful applicants was from, or harvesters was from Montana, and so we were extremely supported by a local butcher that really truly made that possible in 24 hours, or actually less. Was able to process that cow and get it in a way that she could take it back across for her. So from an international logistics standpoint, I think those would probably be the two major items that stand out. And we said this too, ultimately, not everybody shows up super comfortable. You're shooting with 5 people, you're shooting in a field in terrain you don't know, with 5 mentors, 4 mentors that you don't know. And just even for these women to put their hand up and be okay to put themselves out there like that is, I think, a huge stepping stone that all of them overcame in doing that, let alone them being new hunters and doing that.
Brandi, you were talking about the analytics. What was the split from Canadian interest to American interest, roughly?
Oh, I couldn't tell you that off the top of my head. Sorry.
No.
Lots. It was there were more applicants from Alberta. I remember that, but I don't know the percentage. It wasn't like significantly higher. It might have been like, I don't know, 30% higher from Alberta. I'd have to check that, Deneen.
I was just curious. It sounds like it was equally enthusiastic from both parties.
It really was, and I just wanted to add to Brandi's comments that, not only did these women, all of them, push themselves in the way Brandi just described. For the 2 Montanans, they had this added level of stress about crossing the border, and the questions you get at the border, and the questions you get going back through the border, and all the questions, right? And I just, really admired all of them. All 5 of them were very relaxed and easy to get along with. They got along with each other. They were gracious to the 4 mentors. They were wonderful with our hosts. And they, the 2 women who weren't successful were very, very good in processing that. There were no shenanigans or outbursts of frustration or anything like that. I mean, they certainly all had moments in the hunt, like we all do, where they experienced levels of frustration. That's not what I meant. What I meant is that for the 2 who were not successful in harvesting, they were really gracious about it. And then what I also noticed, and I don't know, Cathy and Brandi, if we've really talked about this, but kind of in line with some of the messaging we got from the hunting and fishing branch in Alberta about, that this opportunity showed some reciprocity around the management of jurisdictions that share the same elk herds and elk populations. As we all know, wildlife don't recognize international borders; they cross them freely, and that we were that close to the border, and they all really seemed to really love this opportunity they had to be part of this inaugural offering that really showed that international solidarity. And that was a big part of it. It brought a different flavor to the experience to other mentored hunts I've certainly been on. And for the 2 Montanans in particular, I mean, all the women were very grateful, but the 2 Montanans were very, very grateful for the opportunity. And I just wanted to add that there was this like next level to that experience.
Thank you for sharing that.
To build off of that, Renee, sorry, Deneen, I kind of cut you off that way. The sisterhood that you've seen build with the participants, like not just us with the mentors, which is really easy to bond with your mentor, right? Because you're going through it together. But to see the connections between the participants, between our hunters, that it's next level. It really honestly is next level to watch them. And like, I mean, I still get messages. They'll be like, you won't believe it. This is what my kid just did. Or, just doing that kind of stuff and seeing it and with the connections, I'm just like, yes. There's nothing I love more than seeing that and seeing their connections online too, and seeing them cheer each other on. It's amazing. And like the way they came together, it was awesome. We did have one lady who we ultimately ran out of time. And the first day I called off the shot. The second day, the lady that ran out of time, she called it. She's like, I don't feel this. We're at dark. I don't feel like this is the right move. And, you know, I am so proud of her for being strong enough to adhere to what we've been teaching and what we speak, that it's awesome. It's awesome to see. And the support network that they got within the group is just awe-inspiring.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it truly is. It sounds like you had, you know, when we do these shows, we always talk about what is your most memorable part of either the hunt or the shoot or what was going on. But I think that you've covered it. The fact that these women have built a bond, and it's a bond that's going to be lasting forever. I do think that. But also, how empowering is it to take your first big game or your first game, and then also the whole step and the whole process, and how they know that they can do that. Again, I think that, you know, Cathy, you in particular, the way that you were talking about it. By the way, I shared your post and I shared it again because it's so amazing. And it brought just a huge smile to my face. And I know it did to Deneen too, because she was super excited. Why don't we ask them to come on? I think it's a great idea. And the community that you've built right there between people that are women that are in Montana, but also in southern Alberta, I think it'll continue to grow. It was the inaugural one. So what's happening? Inaugural means maybe we are going to do more.
Yeah, I'll take that one. I'll say that, you know, I received a message from the hunting and fishing branch. They, of course, monitored our experience. We wanted to make sure that they were pleased. They wanted to make sure we were pleased. They wanted to make sure the landowner was happy. You know, there were lots of markers that were being assessed and looked at. And, you know, they messaged that they were very pleased to have worked with Women Hunt, and as they are with all the different mentored hunting groups that they support, and that they are, you know, very open to working with our program again on another opportunity. So Kelly, I guess what I'm trying to say is that yes, we want to do it again. Indications are that the hunting branch will support that and wants to do it with us again. So we're starting the work on that.
That's excellent news. That's fabulous news. And if there's any way our team at She Shoots can help promote it or applaud it afterward, you just let us know. So we're talking about women, and I would love to know, with the association and the initiative specifically around women, why do you feel that there's such a support for female hunters, and what are women doing in and around the hunting movement that's not only moving the optics around hunting forward, but also sustainability in within the wild game population?
Yeah.
Well, I know that in my 10 years of being part of this community, I've seen a tremendous increase in female hunters. I'm sure that for somebody like Cathy, who's been around even longer, it must feel like it's even more significant. But I'm absolutely 100% right at the forefront of the entire conversation about shifting the manner in which we communicate about why we hunt and the motivations behind our choices to hunt. And when I say this, I hope everybody understands I'm not being critical of men at all. Men have always been a huge part of my journey. All of my mentors in hunting have all been male, just coincidentally. But women have a different way of expressing themselves. It's not better. It's just different. We have a different style in the language we use. And often we have different motivations, not always, but often. And so to your question and point, there is a positive effect to having the voice and more voices of women stepping forward to articulate calmly and intelligently why they're choosing to hunt, what their motivations are, and being able to properly describe, how hunting directly correlates to wildlife conservation and to that sustainable use is entirely acceptable. And one of the things we do through the Women Hunt program is make sure that women who come through it get an introduction to the North American model of wildlife conservation, so that they actually have something that they can fall back on as a reference for the points that they try to make. So I'm strongly encouraged by that. And while I appreciate that for some it's challenging for them to wrap their heads around that this demographic is booming, most seem super supportive, and I think it's only a positive.
Thank you, Renée.
I'm super glad that you hit the point about conservation and how sustainability is incredibly important, and how women are the fastest growing population in this, or demographic in this area. It's so important. It's essentially why you're doing this hunt too, but also why She Shoots is around. Women are the future of our hunting, but it's also specifically with keeping our sport shooting alive, and that includes hunting. Deneen, I cut you off. I apologize.
No, that's okay. I'll add to that, Kelly. I think as women, we are leaders for our community. We're leaders for our kids, for our grandkids, and if we show that we can do things like this, bridge that gap, maybe doing something our grandfathers did, or maybe our fathers did. We all have our own story, but we're paving the way for young women and young men to be able to take this on and learn about it. I love, to my heart, I love the element of understanding sustainability, understanding relationships with landowners, understanding the nature of use of firearms for these kind of activities. And I really love what you guys have done in this inaugural hunt. And I think it's such a great story. So I'm so thankful that you shared it with us tonight. And I'm sure we could have a 2 or 3 episode spinoff from all the backstories. But what I do want everybody to know is how they can get a hold of you. And even more so, as these opportunities arise, how are they going to find out about them? Especially Brandi, if you only give us 24 hours for us.
Right?
Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe. Isn't that the verbiage? Yeah.
So how does everybody get a hold of each of you? Brandi, what's your socials or contact?
Look at that. Oh, perfect. Right up there. Yeah. Instagram is Brandi_N_Love. And, most importantly, I think the biggest thing, the Women Hunt page, both on Facebook and Instagram are the key sources to staying on top of what Women Hunt has to offer. We, are extremely, we could always be better, but we do a great job of promoting, sharing, and highlighting exactly what we do on there. Same thing, I will plug Wild Sheep Foundation Alberta. These opportunities were cross-shared and collaborated with that. So that, like, follow, and subscribe.
Yeah, it's really important to recognize that the cross-sharing and the happening and the support that's taking place with the Wild Sheep Federation, just giving them a shout out, both in Montana but also in Alberta too.
Oh yeah, we wouldn't be here without national. So ultimately, that is the home of the Women Hunt program, and a big source of the drive here too. And that's at Wild Sheep Foundation on Instagram and Facebook.
Perfect. Thank you, Brandi. So what about your socials, Cathy? How are people getting a hold of you these days?
Oh my, you just got to flag me down somewhere. I'm almost everywhere on the road. But my socials, Facebook's just me, Cathy Wolf. On Instagram, I have She Alpha Wolf and Untamed Women. You can also follow the Untamed Women page on Facebook. That is the page that I share all of the traveling around Alberta when I'm doing different events, from firearm courses to fishing to actually, I just booked. This is a new one. You guys are first to hear about it. We're going to be making gauntlet mitts out of beaver this fall. Ooh. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that one. I'm really stoked about that one.
I'll take a pair.
So it's just follow me on all of those and you'll see me, or flag me down when you see me running somewhere.
Can I point something out? It wasn't a recent recognition of your husband. I have to give him a shout out to Cathy. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, it's a very near and dear, and get a little emotional here. So this past weekend at the Wild Sheep Foundation in Alberta, they hosted their Bighorn Banquet. And in their Bighorn Banquet, there's several awards that go through, like oldest ram, biggest ram, what you would typically see at those banquets. And the Wild Sheep Foundation Alberta has a unique one that is called the Outstanding Guide Award. And it's the Franklin Ross Outstanding Guide Award. And Frank was one of Byron's brothers, best friend brothers, that had passed away, unfortunately, due to an accident. And he was very, you want to talk about a mentor? That was Frank. Yeah. He took a lot of people under his wing. He showed them the way. One of Byron's and my very first dates was actually sheep hunting that I almost killed Byron on because I made him eat a cucumber sandwich. But that's totally different. But it's because of Frank that so many things happened, and he was amazing as a guide. He made sure he looked after his hunter, and if you were unsuccessful on the hunt, you had memories, and that was what Frank was all about. And Byron won that award this year. He was nominated through past hunters, through past clients, and through friends that he has mentored. And he was honored with winning the Franklin Ross Outstanding Guide Award this year. So
awesome.
Well, congratulations to Byron and to his proud wife, clearly. Cathy, you're all choked up. So I saw those social posts too, and those were some beautiful photos, and it must be a memory you'll keep forever. So
absolutely.
Congrats.
Renée.
All right. Over to Renée, because we need to know how to get a hold of Renée. And apparently you have a podcast, Renée. So did you want to share what that's about?
Yeah, thanks for asking. The podcast, I had been thinking about for over a year about starting a podcast for Women Hunt. But I will very transparently say that I wasn't the right person to build that or run that. And I needed to find somebody who could. And so the long story short is that Women Hunt launched our own podcast at the beginning of January of this year. It's called the Ignite podcast. So Ignite. And we have a great logo actually, and our host is from British Columbia, from Vancouver, British Columbia. Her name is Dana Dykema. So some Canadians may know her. She is newer to hunting, but she is very entrepreneurial and highly tenacious and really, really good at connecting with people. And she actually was mentored by Mark Hall with what used to be called Blood Origins Canada. I cannot remember the new name right now, Brandi. Wild Origins. And so she podcasted with him, if that's, if some people are recognizing her name. But Dana's our host. I will occasionally jump on to co-host with her for an episode here or there. But we drop every Tuesday. And we're on all the platforms. Because Women Hunt is a program of the Wild Sheep Foundation and the Ignite podcast is a Women Hunt podcast, we're all umbrella under the foundation. But Ignite can be found on our Women Hunt Instagram that Brandi, that we showed on the screen earlier with Brandi's handle. So every Tuesday on the Women Hunt Instagram and Facebook, that episode drops, and then on all the standard platforms. But we're having a great time. We're featuring women and men who are trailblazers and adventurers and great storytellers, and of course, who love hunting or angling or, the shooting sports. So check it out.
Thank you very much for sharing that, and congratulations on launching that in January. We know how much fun it can be. We've been doing it for 4 years. We're going in our 5th season now. So yeah, very excited about that.
Yeah. Typically we end the show with some thoughts. I'm just going to ask this question, and whoever wants to field this question, just jump in. But what we know here in Canada is we're facing some challenging times, particularly, with anybody who's part of the shooting sports or hunting. So what recommendations do you have for women in particular, because this is a women's podcast, recommendations for women who want to participate in hunting, particularly big game hunting like you just saw?
Brandi, do you want to take it?
I can start.
Sure.
Yeah. So my first recommendation is seek out some education, and I've commented on some Facebook groups before about women saying they've gone with their husbands or significant other and they don't feel confident making the shot, or they have some challenges with the morality of that. Having gone through that myself, I will say that confidence comes from education and repetition. And once you get so comfortable, some of those trepidations just magically kind of fall off into the background, and you get to really enjoy it. So my first, seek out Cathy, seek out Ahia, seek out myself or the Women Hunt program, or if you're in an area or a jurisdiction where you don't need to know, there's so many great resources out there to connect women that way. And if you don't want to learn from a partner or significant other, or even a family member, there's some pressures always with that dad-daughter dynamic too.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily mine was amazing, but it's okay to get an outside education. We go through a school system that way. There's third party does add an element of professionalism and education, just that level. So seek that out. Seek out somebody who does too, and tag along. Find somebody. I don't know a single hunter that wouldn't take somebody out, even just to go scout for animals or things like that. And get your feet wet. You don't have to dive into the deep end by any means. You do not have to dive into the deep end. That was my crash course, but anyway, there's so many great programs out there, and there's so many great women and mentors. And even if you think somebody is unattainable, hit their DMs. You'd be 100% surprised. I think we all feel like we're in this together, and we talked about it. Cathy touched on it a little bit, but we hosted a ladies event this past weekend, and I closed my speech with, ladies, we said, here's the table, we saved you a seat. And I think that's the general consensus of women in this industry, is we will put a seat at the table for every one of them that wants to join.
It's absolutely it, Brandi.
Yeah.
Absolutely it. Like Brandi said, reach out and see what you can find, right? I know within Alberta, and I'm sure there isn't everywhere, like Montana and BC and Saskatchewan and et cetera and so forth. We have AHIA, the Alberta Hunters Education, and we do the firearms courses. There's the hunter education courses. There's the mentor hunts through there also. There's go to the Wild Sheep Foundation, go to a gun and rod club. the outdoor community is so vast, but it is actually so small. And they will all bring you in. So as a woman, you're trying to get into it. If you're intimidated by it, search a social media side of it, search somebody, see them, follow them, do that kind of stuff. I guarantee you they will share something that you can click on and go from there. Reach out to myself, Brandi, Renee, Deneen, Kelly, anybody. And there's the process there. There's so many people that are in functions that are out there to reach out and get there. And it's just a matter of taking that intimidation and pushing it to the side.
Yeah.
Taking that first step.
And Kelly, I was going to be really sarcastic, and you were talking about the challenges in Canada with firearms and hunting, and I was going to say, well, just move to Montana. It's a lot easier here.
Easy.
But to the points that Brandi and Cathy made, it is such a welcoming community, and I think that one thing I would say is that for all the hundreds of women, I guess maybe thousands of women that I've dialogued with over the last 6 years, that wherever you're feeling that sense of I couldn't possibly do it, or it seems overwhelming, or I won't fit in, or I might embarrass myself, or whatever inner dialogue of insecurity might be running through your minds, I just invite you to do your best to set that aside and step forward. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at how warmly welcomed you will be, and that there are infinite opportunities out there for training and mentorship and community, and you just have to ask.
Thank you.
And the last one for big game animals, keep following Women Hunt, because we have another potential elk hunt coming. So when you have 24 hours from Brandi, get your name in.
You heard it here on She Shoots.
I'm just gonna ask you to share that information with us, and we'll gladly share it with our community as well. But maybe Deneen, you'll get in time, or maybe I'll get in time too.
Maybe the Excel algorithm will work in your favor this time.
Maybe. I'm gonna set the stage and go buy an empty freezer, because that will set things up for good luck. So.
Yeah, if you buy it, it will come.
Right. So I don't have any more questions. We've already gone over our typical hour, but it was so worth it.
Yeah.
And I really, really want to thank you ladies for sharing your stories. And I think we've got more time we can spend together on the podcast or in the field. I think it would be lovely both ways. And I know that Rahina is now with us to share some closing comments.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so before I start with the closing comments, I do know that both Cathy and Renee want to do some giveaways. So based on that, we've decided that we'll just do like a social media giveaways. We'll figure out the details in a little bit, but just pay attention to your social media pages so you can see the giveaway announcements and how we're going to go about it and how we're going to see who the winners are and whatnot. So make sure you pay attention to that. Other than that, we'll just go into our closing remarks. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us today. It was amazing listening to you guys and your stories, and just everything. Just a good feel vibe, Anyways, just some closing remarks. If you're listening to us and you want to hear from your favorite people, or you have a particular topic that you want us to cover, make sure you email us at sheshoots@gmail.com. If Casey could pull it up, then you can probably get the better spelling than what I just gave you. Other than that, as Kelly mentioned, if you have any events that are coming up for your range, whether it is a competition, just a women's shoot or family shoot, whatever it is, a hunt that's coming up, just let us know and send us an email at the She Shoots email, and we'll be more than gladly advertise it on our social media pages and throughout the podcast as well. If you also want to send those pictures afterwards, we'll also be glad to share them as well, just to grow that community of people. And As I mentioned at the beginning, you can watch us on YouTube and Facebook through the She Shoots podcast, or you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and iHeartRadio, also at the She Shoots podcast. With that, thank you so much, everyone, for coming and listening to this lovely ladies talk today. And we'll see you again next month on the second Tuesday at 5 p.m. PST, 6 p.m. MST, 8 p.m. EST. We all know their story. So, with that, good night, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Good night, everyone.